500 uploads.
Hello everybody, my name's Guy, I'm from OpenOcean and you're watching the first video in a short series that we're doing about the upcoming OpenOcean Liquid Ethereum Staking dashboard. On the OpenOcean dashboard, you'll be able to compare offerings from all the major players in the liquid Ethereum staking place, as well as see all the different pools, see rewards broken down by individual reward type, as well as the OpenOcean Edge, which is the advantage that you get from buying tokens directly on OpenOcean as opposed to getting them from the open market. In the upcoming videos, we'll be talking with people from many of the different liquid staking platforms, and today I'm very proud to announce that I have none other than Darren Langer from RocketPool. Awesome, thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. I'm joined here today by Darren Langer from RocketPool. Darren, how are you doing?
I'm very well, but thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, as you know, OpenOcean is building our fantastic new Ethereum staking dashboard. So hopefully this is a little bit of a chance for us to get to know you, for us to get to know RocketPool, and for all of our community members and OpenOcean fans at home, just to get a little bit more information. So firstly, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do at RocketPool, if that's all right?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Darren Langer. On Discord and everywhere else, I am Langers, and I am the general manager of the core team for RocketPool. So RocketPool is made up of lots of different groups of people. We've got the core team, who are like a core set of devs and that sort of thing, and then you have like this massive community and that kind of surround RocketPool within our Discord and our node operators and all of this sort of thing. So there's other kind of it's a kind of a big thing, but we're quite a small part of it.
Well, I've seen you guys have absolutely rose to like popularity. Like I've been following the RocketPool journey, and it's great that there are other providers out there, who are just wanting to like go that little bit of extra mile. And it's great that we always have more options to choose from. So could you tell me a little bit more about RocketPool itself, and specifically what makes you different from other liquid Ethereum staking providers?
Yeah, sure. So I guess we're a 6-year overnight success, I guess. So we RocketPool has been around since 2016. Ever since Ethereum kind of mentioned that they might go to proof of stake, RocketPool has existed, and we've kind of obviously worked side by side, rolling out our product as Ethereum kind of rolled out proof of stake. So what is RocketPool? So RocketPool is a decentralized liquid staking protocol. So I'll go into that, break that down a little bit. I might say I'll start from what is ETH staking. So ETH staking. ETH staking is when you stake ETH. Actually, I should say. So proof of stake is now rolled out with across Ethereum. So in theory, anyone with ETH can stake their ETH and secure Ethereum, essentially contribute to the securing Ethereum, but also kind of earn like rewards for doing that. Now, there's a few barriers to entry for that. First of all, you need 32 ETH. And they're kind of like 32 ETH increments as well, so you can't stake however much you want. You just have to do these 32 increments, and you need to be able to run an Ethereum node. And currently, before the Shanghai hard fork, it's actually a one-way deposit. So there's not a way of getting your ETH back. But obviously, the Shanghai fork is coming very, very soon. What we do, or what RocketPool does, is we match people who want to what we call liquid stake with node operators. Liquid stakers can stake with any amount of ETH. They don't have to run a node. They just are literally supplying the capital. They they get a liquid staking token in return. So they get, in our case, RETH. There's loads of benefits of that, which I can probably go into a little bit more. But essentially, what happens is when they deposit their ETH, they get this RETH staking token back as a receipt. That ETH that they've staked gets matched with the node operator, and then the node operator then stakes that ETH and earns the rewards that you get. Well, actually, they stake that ETH and secure Ethereum. They do the validation process, which is how Ethereum moves forward, how the blocks are created and transactions are validated. They run that process, and then they essentially share those rewards with liquid stakers. So that's like the very, very high level. There's a few moving parts underneath, but that's basically it. That's how it works.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the ability for anyone, like literally anybody, to be able to get involved with Ethereum staking and not have to themselves reach that 32 ETH, like that limit, sort of make sure they get to it. So, I mean, I guess my next question is like, so you touched on like the decentralization with the people can access their own ETH staking. So how do you ensure that everything is as decentralized as it can be? And I sort of maybe guess that how can you ensure that security for RocketPool users and for people who are holding our ETH?
So we designed RocketPool to be decentralized from the ground up and from the very beginning. The reason why we did that was because Ethereum is that way, and in fact Ethereum is the only way that Ethereum will be able to be this global settlement layer for the world is for it to be decentralized. And when decentralization is kind of like a characteristic, but eventually what that actually leads to is things like censorship resistance, resiliency, avoiding kind of capture and all that sort of thing. So that's kind of like decentralization. So we built RocketPool from the ground up to be decentralized. So how we do that is our node operator, so most other providers have node operators that are from, they're essentially chosen. They're allowed to do it. Because it's like a walled garden, it's permissioned. They're permissioned node operators, and they do that because it's based on reputation and all this sort of thing. And often it's because they have to do that because they don't provide any collateral. Node operators do the job, but they don't provide any collateral themselves. Okay, so on the flip side, how RocketPool works is our node operators are permissionless, so anyone can be a node operator with RocketPool. You just need to bring with you some form of collateral, and the reason why we do that is so that our node operators are economically aligned with liquid stakers. So our node operators have skin in the game. They want to earn money for themselves, and so they do a good job because they want to do that. The collateral also provides a way for... So Ethereum staking is low risk, but there are still risks. One of those risks is a risk of slashing, which is essentially you do something wrong that the protocol doesn't like. Now it's actually quite difficult to do that, but it does happen quite often. Well, it does happen every now and again, and so what that means is that the protocol or Ethereum itself kind of takes some of your bond. Now, in our case, it means that what we actually pass that on to the node operator. The node operator is the one that messed up, so they pay the fee for that, and so there's there's very little risk to our ETH holders. The collateral that our node operators provides very, very good coverage on even very dire situations within Ethereum. So that's kind of like the aim of it, is to make sure that our ETH, our liquid staking token, is the most solid kind of asset out there, because it is backed by, well, not backed, but it's insured by this kind of collateral that our node operators provide. So that's that. Yeah, that's how we kind of maintain decentralization. That's how we kind of maintain kind of security. We also, obviously, from a security perspective, our node operators are everybody, and there are a very wide skill set, and that's kind of by design. We want to lower the barrier of entry so that as many people can be involved in Ethereum staking as possible. I think that's the best outcome for Ethereum. So, so the idea there is we onboard. So we've got this massive community that have onboarded hundreds and hundreds of node operators, from limited kind of knowledge. Particularly, well, they've often have a little bit of Unix kind of background, but they don't know much about Ethereum staking. So, our community have kind of onboarded them, and we've got extensive documentation on security best practices and that sort of thing that our node operators kind of go through and make sure they have those in place, so that they've got kind of like this base level of security across the whole thing. The other thing is, obviously, they're very incentivized to maintain security, because again, they have skin in the game, they have their own money on the line. So all of these things kind of work together for best outcomes.
Yeah, I find it's very interesting how you've got that incentivization behind the node operators to continuously make sure that they're performing well. It's like you say, they got skin in the game, and so at least you can sort of semi-guarantee that they're going to be there, they're going to be reliable, and they're going to be fighting for you and actually working. So okay, I'm on OpenOcean's new staking dashboard. I can see all of the options in front of me. I've got RocketPool, I've got several other platforms. If someone was browsing and they didn't know what to get involved with, and you had to give like 2 or 3 lines, quick elevator pitch on the main benefits of going with RocketPool than anybody else just before the upgrade comes out on the 12th, what would you say?
Yeah, so RocketPool is the most Ethereum aligned staking platform that you can get. We're the only one that does permissionless node operators, which means that we're the only one that is technically decentralized. So a lot of our competitors have kind of like 1 to maybe 20 kind of node operators. We have over 2,000 in like over 100 different geographic locations. So that's the difference between the two styles. So that's a big thing, and that's important when you think about risk. Actually, there's a couple of things to think about in terms of risk. So there's pros and cons of RocketPool. So I'll go the cons first. The cons are that we're a smart contract platform, and smart contract risk you have to kind of like take into consideration. But we kind of mitigate that with extensive audits, like a bug bounty program, a lot of testing that we kind of go in for that. So that's kind of the kind of downside for that. But apart from that, on the plus side, it's about kind of managing the risk. So Lido is a very large player in this space, and the problem is with kind of market share in the staking market is it's not very healthy. So it's not very healthy for Ethereum. So if one of us gets too large, then that's actually bad for Ethereum. And that's kind of easy for us to say, because I think we're at something like 2.4%, and Lido's at like 30 or something like that. But it is something to bear in mind from a risk perspective. If you undermine Ethereum by going with like a majority provider, then that can be bad. So there's that. There's obviously the fact that we are a decentralized protocol. So from that perspective, we're less risked in terms of if something goes wrong. So, for example, one of the larger players, they're running kind of like thousands and thousands of validators on a single node. We have 2,000 node operators, Now, it's not spread evenly across those 2,000 node operators, but there's certainly much wider spread than with kind of with other providers. Yeah, and that's kind of and by going with RocketPool, you are supporting Ethereum because we're the most aligned to decentralization. So that was a bit more. That was a bit longer of an elevator.
Yeah, that's all right. That's great. All the more information that we could get, the better. We like to say that education is everything in this space. So as every chance that we get is possible, we like to talk about things. Okay. So let's say I've gone onto OpenOcean. I've bought my RETH, right, and now I can see all the different pools listed on the OpenOcean Ethereum Staking dashboard, right? So I've got different pools from things like Beethoven, Velodrome, Balancer, where I can go and take my RETH and I can go and earn on them. I can see all my individual token rewards. So for dashboards like these and other little extra apps and services that people build, do you think that ultimately in the end it could be a net benefit to RocketPool users? And do you think that other platforms and other products that people build around liquid staking are very useful to the growth of liquid staking itself and RocketPool?
Yeah, so I think you can break it down into a couple of things. So the more utility that a liquid staking token has, the better it is for that liquid staking token. A liquid staking token kind of earns rewards over time, so it kind of it does that kind of automatically, or as a consequence of your ETH being staked by a node operator. So so it already has that kind of mechanism, but then you have all this other utility that you can have with it. So as you said, you could put it into a liquidity platform and kind of earn trade fees or incentives based on that. You could put it into like a MakerDAO CDP and borrow DAI against it. You could put it into an options platform, and so all of these things actually add utility and options for people. Essentially, it's about giving people flexibility and options in how they. So essentially, a choose your own adventure. So that's kind of like on the utility side. On the information side, that's really essential. We want to kind of like democratize this as much as possible. We want everyone to be able to see. Well, I think it's great for transparency in terms of what platforms are doing well, what platforms aren't doing so well, or sorry, not as doing as well. But also the fact that we want to democratize it so that everyone has as much information as possible, and everyone can free to make their own choices and again follow that choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Yeah, but I say you're right in that there are so many different options and avenues to take. Once you've bought your liquid staking tokens. So very quickly, you touched on it just then. Can you just explain how RETH works in comparison to other liquid staking tokens, if that's all right? Yeah,
sure. So, okay, so RETH is it's what's called a non-rebasing token. And so I'll start off with what a rebasing token is first. So a rebasing token is one that as rewards accumulate, the quantity of the token goes up. Okay, so you have quantity and value of the token, and the quantity of the value goes up. So it goes up kind of often on a daily basis. Okay. Now a non-rebasing token, what it does is the quantity stays the same, but the value against, in our case, ETH goes up over time. And so that's a little bit kind of harder to wrap your head around, but it is much better for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that your quantity stays the same. So from a tax perspective, and depends on your jurisdiction, but from a tax perspective, with a rebasing token, you have this taxable event every single day. And with a non-rebasing token, you essentially just have two taxable events: one when you stake and one when you unstake. So it's much better from that perspective. It's also much better from a DeFi perspective, or integrating into other products. the fact that this the quantity changes for a rebasing token is a real pain for DeFi, and so they much prefer this non-rebasing kind of model. So they're kind of like the key benefits really for or its design, the way it works.
Yeah, and we're actually, I mean, it's great to hear, that the value of the token increases, and because as a platform we integrate so many liquidity sources, we've actually built a little bit of an update, so it shows you the difference between buying tokens on OpenOcean as to what your APR will be, as opposed to buying them off the general market and using the fee-free platform that we built. So we've actually sort of determined that you can sometimes get a little bit of an edge or a little bit more for your money by shopping around and purchasing it through, like a dashboard like the one that we've built. So we're kind of happy about that. But I was also reading that you guys went through a huge upgrade recently called Atlas. I was just hoping you might be able to shed a little bit of light on that and just flesh it out for us.
Actually, we're still going through it. So, so we've released it to our testnet, which is on Gurley. So we've released it to a testnet. It isn't on mainnet yet, but it will be kind of mid-April. So we're not far away. So what Atlas brings a couple of things. So first of all, the Shanghai hard fork. So the Shanghai hard fork will be happening mid-April, and what that does is our node operators and anybody who's actually staking on Ethereum today they'll be able to do two things. Okay, they'll be able to access the rewards they've earned up until this point. So anything above 32 ETH will kind of be distributed to them. And people who have been staking since Genesis, they might have something like 4 ETH or something like that that they've earned in the last couple of years. So that's so that will come back to them. That happens automatically, and then they can also, and in that process they're still staking. But then there's also a full withdrawal, so they can exit their validator, they can withdraw, and then they get essentially the 32 ETH back that they staked. So this kind of closes the loop on proof of stake. At the moment, it's still a one-way deposit until Shanghai, and then in Shanghai, you can actually deposit, you can stake for a few months if you wanted to, and then exit. So and withdraw your funds. So it kind of closes that loop. So Atlas supports that. So it supports the fact that our node operators will then now start getting their rewards back. In our case, the rewards are actually split between our node operators and our ETH holders. And so that's so that kind of happens automatically. And then you've got full withdrawals as well. So we handle the full withdrawal mechanism. So that's the first thing that Atlas does. The second thing that Atlas focuses on is scalability in terms of RocketPool as a protocol. So being like a decentralized protocol, we're reliant on node operators spinning up validators. And as I said before, each one of our node operators, each validator they spin up, they supply collateral, and at the moment they supply 16 ETH. Okay. Now, when we first did the risk modeling and that sort of thing, we chose 16 ETH. It was basically the most conservative kind of number. After doing some risk modeling, we figured out that we can actually quite easily take it down to 8 and still guarantee our ETH some like the best kind of coverage. So what we're doing is reducing it from 16 to 8. That essentially triples our capacity on kind of day one, because we'll also have like a migration path for people who are running 16 ETH mini pools to be able to convert them to 8 ETH, well, to 8 ETH mini pools. So so that's kind of like a major thing for us that will enable us to scale a lot faster. I think so on the market you'll notice that most liquid staking tokens were trading at a discount, and our ETH was actually trading at a premium. The reason for that was because we had so much RETH demand, and our node operators were just about keeping up. So with this will enable us to take on a lot more RETH demand and kind of satisfy that. And again, it's lowering that barrier of entry for node operators so that more people can actually run nodes and be part of securing Ethereum as well. So that's that. We also got like a mechanism for solo stakers to be able to migrate their solo staker stuff over to RocketPool without actually exiting their validator. So that we've got that mechanism as well. So yeah, so it's a really exciting kind of release, and we're really looking forward to getting it out the door and kind of seeing how it goes.
Yeah, I love the huge focus on decentralization, on scalability, on and like we always say, and like the our whole entire ethos is democratizing crypto for people, trying to get it into as many people's hands. So it's amazing that we can share that sort of similar vision and similar view as well. Now, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but could you go into detail on how the Rocket Pool token plays a role in the network, and what do people need to
Yeah.
know about the RPL token?
Yeah, cool. So RPL has a couple of different kind of I guess uses. So the first thing is it provides kind of a backstop collateral. So they provide kind of 8 ETH, but they also supply RPL as well as collateral. Now, and that's basically so that in the absolute worst cases, and I mean this is like a black swan event where Ethereum is in quite a lot of trouble at this point, but you can actually lose more than 8 ETH. And so we want to kind of like backstop that with with RPL. We backstop it with RPL so that we have kind of more protection against those black swan events. So RPL is a backstop collateral, and people so essentially node operators, they stake ETH, and then they also stake kind of a small amount of RPL. And so with that, it's kind of collateral that they put in. For staking that RPL, they receive so RPL is actually inflates by 5% per year, and 70% of that inflation actually goes back to node operators as a reward for staking their RPL. So they actually kind of earn rewards from that as well. So that's kind of that element. But then it's also plays a governance role as well. So we wanted kind of our governance to be, I guess, not to have issues with unaligned actors. So RPL itself is not a governance token, but RPL staked within RocketPool is a governance token, right? So the RPL that you've staked within RocketPool is your voting power as part of our DAO. And so what that means is that the people who are providing value to RocketPool get to vote. And people who kind of are just holding RocketPool don't necessarily get to vote, but they do if they are actually a node operator. So that's kind of how that works as well. So we have a DAO called the Protocol DAO, and that's made up of node operators who are staking their ETH, and they make a lot of decisions about how RocketPool should proceed and go ahead. What that does mean is it means that our node operators are, not they're kind of like influencing and controlling how RocketPool develops. They have the most kind of say in how we move forward. So that's kind of how it works.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, just a reminder to everybody as well that you can also go and purchase your RPL tokens on OpenOcean. So if you want to pick up some of them while you're listening as well. But let's talk like long term, okay? So 2023, 2024, beyond. How do you see the staking market evolving, perhaps just the liquid staking market, and how would you say that RocketPool fits into that landscape like long term?
Right. So the merge was big for Ethereum because when that happened, we moved to proof of stake properly, and that whole kind of execution risk of moving to proof of stake went away. Shanghai is basically the same thing, but it's bigger because in the sense that now so at the moment people are depositing their ETH. Well, up until very, very recently, they were depositing their ETH without any determined date about when they will get that back. Right? So
That's pretty brave.
I mean, I count myself in that crazy money. But
It's the
yeah,
second. It's the second biggest thing. What you gonna do? You know.
yeah. We do it because we want to secure Ethereum, and we want to be part of
Absolutely, yeah.
part of Ethereum's future. So that's kind of that's a key thing. But post Shanghai, and in fact even now we've got a date of when that's when you'll be able to start withdrawing. And so people who have been sitting on the sidelines and going, I'm not putting I'm not depositing money into that thing where I never know where I'm going to get my money back. Or I'm not running a node and staking my ETH because of I don't know where I just don't know when I'm going to be able to withdraw. That excuse goes away. And it becomes a lot more appealing for people. Then you've got also organizations. Organizations can't just lock up money like that. So there's a lot of organizations that, for those sorts of reasons, weren't interested in staking before, but they certainly will be interested in staking now. So that is going to be a massive thing. Obviously, I think we're at something like 14% or something like that of ETH being staked. But other chains have got like 50, 60, some are 70%. I don't think we'll ever get that high. But we'll certainly kind of maybe kind of hit 40% or something like that. So it's a big increase from where we are now. So that I feel is kind of like the future. There'll be more and more people kind of staking their ETH. There'll be more platforms available for you to do so, which is a very good thing. I think we definitely need that competition, and so that's kind of the future of Ethereum staking and RocketPool. Obviously, we've got Atlas, which puts us in a very good position to grow with that as Shanghai is released, and so we do hope to kind of capture some of that growth as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, it's so amazing to hear about. I love when I get to chat to platforms and hear about all the work that's going on, and especially your focus on decentralization, on scalability, and pushing RocketPool out to as many people as possible. I also like that you ended with that little bit of caveat of being like, yeah, there are other people, but it's not a bad thing that, there are other people who are in the staking game. It's, do you know what I mean? It's democratizing it all for everybody.
It's a rising. I mean, it's a rising tide for everybody, so that's good. Like, we can all have a big impact on Ethereum's future. We don't. There's it's not zero sum at this point. and in fact we need other competitors, because even RocketPool have said that we will self limit if we get to like a too big a market share, which is easy for us to say. We're at 2.4%, but that is something that we would much rather kind of limit our growth rather than undermine Ethereum, which just doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of where we're heading.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on today and talking about, RocketPool, talking about staking, the RocketPool token, security. We've covered absolutely everything. So I just want to remind everybody that you can go on OpenOcean, you can pick up RocketPool tokens, you can pick up your RETH, you'll be able to access the new Ethereum staking dashboard soon. If not, it's already live by the time we've released this. So thank you very much, Dan. Is there anything that you want to leave me with? Any words of wisdom or any sign-off message to the OpenOcean community or to the wider crypto community?
Oh, now I'm on the spot. No, just have fun with Ethereum. It's a great time to kind of be in Ethereum at the moment. I'm loving kind of every day that we're in. It's a new kind of challenge, and it's a massive potential. So we're pretty excited.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on here, Darren. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Right.